You're listening to the Into the Woods podcast with your hosts, Dermott and Michael. Let's get into it.
Wonderful chase by Hinshaw.
Cox again. I cannot believe it. Dacos nearly runs out of room. He's goal.
Jamie Elliott has won the game of footy for this famous club.
Slap for Nick Dacos. He's going to be the hero. The little champ is going to pick the winner.
Here's the Degoe moment. He unloads. Bang! You need your stars. And Collingwood stars just went and wrenched the cup back.
If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. For Spotify and Apple listeners, a 5-star rating would be greatly appreciated. Make sure you hit the bell icon on any of those platforms to be notified as soon as new episodes are released. You can find us on X at Into the Woods Pod and on Instagram at Into the Woods Pod 10. Thanks for your ongoing support by helping the podcast grow. Go Pies! Welcome to the second trade edition of Into the Woods. I'm your host Dermott, and for the next hour or so, we'll be talking about all things Collingwood. Once again, for the last time in 2025, I'm joined by Michael. How are you, Mick?
Yes, good, thank you. I've got a statement I'd like to make, if that's okay.
Go on.
I've written it down because I want to get a word perfect. Where the freaking hell is our big fish, Kaltumi, you bastard? Yeah.
Well, like I've said to you 100 times, he never said we'll get in a big fish. He said we're going to target a big fish.
I was anticipating the big fish. He said we've got a big fish on the line. Now, normally, I'm not a fisherman, but normally if you've got a big fish in the line, you're reeling them in. You're fairly confident. Having got them on the line, you're pretty confident of them reeling them in. Nothing, Kaltumi, nothing.
You're such an angry little man. All trade period, you're calling me, misquoting all these journos, getting really, really upset. And I had to say, Michael, this journo didn't actually say that. He didn't say this. He didn't say that. You're creating all this stuff in your head. Calm down. Take a deep breath. Yes.
As the season went on, we thought, okay, who's the big fish? Okay, it can't be, well, Rao. Everyone was saying it's probably Rao. And then Rao. Oh, no, it can't be Rao. Rao was re-signed.
It was Butters. But Port wouldn't let him go.
Yeah, well.
But he never said we're going to get the big fish.
Anyway.
He never said those words. You made this up in your head. You made it all up in your head, Michael. But we'll talk about the...
Made it up in my head.
As you do. We'll talk about the trade period a little bit later. There's fuck all to talk about, really. So this is going to be more about...
Well, there's F4 to talk about, according to you, but also there's a couple of segments that you've just given me a briefing on that I can't babble on. You want exclusivity in these segments. I'm not to talk. There's a couple of segments on which I'm not to talk because I babble, apparently.
You do, and I'm absolutely mentally drained from this podcast this year. I'm relieved it's the last one. You're a lot of work. You're a lot of work to handle. Just a little insight for what goes on behind the scenes. I called Mick about 45 minutes ago, being like, all right, let's jump on last pod of the year. Wasn't at home. He was shocked that we were doing the podcast in the morning, even though what's this episode 44 for season 25. We always seem to do it in the morning. I reckon out of those 44 episodes, maybe 40 of them were in the morning. And you were surprised by that, and you had to go home. This is what I have to deal with. It's exhausting.
I was out and about, being embraced by the local community, Dermott. Mm-hmm. I'm very much a community man.
Do you know when our first episode was this year? The date? Take a guess.
I think you made us start in January, didn't you? Something stupid. Was it January 4th or something?
No. January 12th.
January 12th. Oh, yes. January 4th would have been outrageous. But January 12th makes perfect sense for a sport that doesn't start for another, 3 months after that.
The pre-season's getting bigger and bigger every year. And I've looked ahead in the calendar when we will start in 26. And I'm looking at the weekend. I think it's January 10, 11, the Saturday, Sunday. I reckon we'll be back a similar time next year, Mick. So we'll get about a 2.5 to 3 month break. I probably won't talk to you at all in that time. So it's going to be nice.
Everyone wins.
Everyone wins. Yes, but look, the podcast this year, it's gone, compared to last year, how fucking shit were we last year when, full disclosure, we had basically no listeners. In terms of listeners.
I think we were better last year.
No, we weren't. If you go back, I don't recommend anyone to go back and listen to episode 1 and 2 and all that, but it was dreadful.
No, they're better. The first series is better. I reckon we've been not as good this year.
Well, the numbers say otherwise because thank God the people jumped on this year, and we thank you so much for that. But last year was embarrassing. It felt like it sometimes. We were just on Spotify. We hadn't joined YouTube. We hadn't joined Apple, and it felt like we were just getting like no one listening. It felt like we were talking to ourselves. So this has been a huge step.
I've just been going through the motions this year. I was better last year.
I think you're on the same level, which is just utter shit. But no, we want to continue to grow, and next year we want to go to another level. So to all our listeners out there, if you've got any, go on. You want to interrupt?
No, there is a big. We're going to have a big start to the year because, as promised, I will be hosting the first month.
No, you won't be.
No, I knew I couldn't rely on your integrity to keep a promise, Dermott. Do you recall what you said a couple of weeks ago?
Yes.
You do, okay? Because I've got the quote here.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to Dermott about Andrew Walsh, the new president of Essendon, and I said, Andrew Walsh has come out and said Merritt will not be traded. He's going to be playing for Essendon next year. And Dermott said something along the lines of, were you born yesterday? And then went on to say, and I quote, if Merritt isn't playing for Hawthorn next year, I'll let you host the podcast for a month. Okay, I've kept the text, Dermott. So I'm not very good at hosting, but I'll be doing it for a month.
We're not opening with you. We're not opening. No, maybe somewhere in the middle of the season when it's a little.
We're
bit,
opening
when it's a when the numbers are down in the middle of the season and around about the bye rounds. I reckon that's when you can have your month. How's that sound?
It's going to be disastrous.
We're not opening the season with you as host.
I'm hopeless and stuff like that.
You are.
But I'm looking forward to it.
Anyway, back to next year. If any of our listeners or viewers have got any recommendations for what you want us to do next year, we're not necessarily going to listen to you, but it'll be interesting. So, you can contact me on Instagram at Into the Woods Pod 10, and tell me what you want to see. And to help us continue to grow, we'll really appreciate it if you. Being the last episode of the year, I'm not embarrassed to say, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Spotify and Apple if you do enjoy what we're doing and you have been listening or watching us for the majority of the season, or if you just found us and you want to get on board for next year. That will really help the podcast grow. Anyway, for the last time in 2025, it's time for all the hot topics.
We've listened to the wisdom of Sir Winston Churchill and the brilliance of genius Albert Einstein. In the 60s, we heard the great JFK. Now, all the great minds are talking footy.
All right. So like I said, fuck all happened in that trade period.
Mind the language, Dermott. Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
Didn't you start a quest a couple of months ago to reduce your amount of swearing? You went on this quest.
Did I?
Yeah, well, I suggested you
on
go
on the podcast or just in life? No.
I was talking to you a couple of months ago, and I said you should start a quest to at least reduce your amount of swearing, because you should be able to express yourself without resorting to swearing.
I don't recall.
Yeah,
maybe that's something that can weigh up in the off season.
Start your quest next year.
I don't know. Okay, we'll see. But anyway, so like I said, stuff all happened. Did stuff all happen? Bugger all happened in the trade period.
We got Jack Buller,
and we'll talk about him later.
Yes, I've got scary Jesse White 2.0 vibes going on. A big guy from Sydney. There's a few parallels.
Yes, we'll talk about him later.
Oh, sorry.
Later.
Is this one of the segments I'm not supposed to be babbling in?
You just have no awareness to how this podcast is run. Maybe I need to next year. The best way to do it is to maybe send you the order of things that we're going to talk about.
No. I tell you what. The person who doesn't know how this podcast runs is yourself. Because at the very incarnation of this podcast, what we said is, why don't we just have a podcast where, like, normally after a game of footy, Dermott and I would chat on the phone or in the lounge room, and we'd just chat. And I said, well, why can't this just be the podcast? Just chatting. And then you've come up and you've started segmenting. That's not a word. You've got all these little segments.
Adding segments.
Right throughout.
And then the segments are going next year, as we announced in the last podcast.
Yeah.
It is going to be more like a chat, but it's still going to be structure, Mick. There's going to be structure next year, just no segments.
But yeah, I understand why the things need to be structured. We just say things as we think of them. But anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I would like to start with the three players that have left us. All right. So Brody Mihocek, he's gone across to Melbourne.
Yes.
That's it. It's the end of an era. And I just thought to myself after he got traded, it just sunk in. We're never going to see Brody Mihocek play for Collingwood again. And
well, that's not normally happens when you trade.
Yes, but it just feels weird because he's basically been a one-man show in the forward line for the last 8 seasons. It's going to be a very different look up there without him. Look at him. So we drafted him at pick number 22 in the 2018 rookie draft as a centre-half back from Port Melbourne into VFL. After years of being overlooked in the draft, he was about 25 or whatever he was at the time when he was drafted. From Burnie, Tasmania, he ended up going on to play 159 games, 267 goals as a key forward after getting him as a key defender. Led our goal kicking 5 times, premiership player in 2023. I reckon he is up there with one of our greatest ever value pickups. Because without him, the amount of final series, he was the only man in that forward line, basically, especially in the era where, Elliott was always injured and guys like that. He's just an absolute wrecking ball, putting his body on the line week in, week out. And it was funny because going into this year, we thought, well, now we've got Membry and McStay's finally fit. It's going to take a bit of pressure off him. He'll love it. And that lasted about a year. Now he's gone to Melbourne, where he's again going to be really the only man up there. And his body's just going to be getting beaten up again. He must like it. Yeah. He must be an absolute sicko.
No, it is a pity. It would have been nice for him to see out his career at Collingwood because, as we spoke a few months ago, comparing him to Jack Crisp, who was the better pickup, and it's touch, it's line ball basically.
I think you chuck Darcy Cameron in there now as well.
Yeah, you can chuck Darcy Cameron in there. Yeah, those three have all been great pickups, and considering we gave basically nothing for any of them.
It's unfortunate, but you can't hold it against him. I mean, I think this year, as much as I love the man, he looked like he was cooked, especially towards the end of the year. His body, at some point it was going to give, the amount of, beatings he's taken. And I think we've seen the best of Brody Mihocek. So, and he probably knows that, and getting offered, slightly more money. I think it was originally reported as 3 years, but I think it's only to 2 years. But it's probably, to look after yourself now is probably best for him. And like I said a few weeks ago, I think it's probably best for the club as well. With guys like Charlie West coming through. I think it's
well. We'll touch on your best 23 later going into the new year.
We will.
That's one of the segments I can't babble in apparently because you want to do that as a short.
You can babble after.
But just to preempt it a little bit, it's going to be a year where I think the Pies are going to have to blood some because. Look, I don't think we're going to be challenging next year. I think we're going to be just inside or outside the 8, if that's what we want to achieve. Like, if we want to do our best, I think we'll end up somewhere between kind of 10th and 7th, that area. I think it's a year
10th.
to get...
Oh, gee.
Probably not that low. Let's say, just inside or just outside the 8. It's a year to get games into the young guys. Get games into Parker, serious number of games. Parker, Allen, West, Harrison... those guys, positional changes for guys like...
Why are you stealing my thunder when we've got this whole segment coming up? What is wrong with you?
Oh, yeah, you can expand it, but just in a nutshell, positional change...
You're taking all my good points, which we're basing a whole segment about, and you're ruining it about 10 minutes in.
Well, is there a segment where you're not allowed to babble in? Can this be that segment? Okay, I've had various segments.
So I've put probably about 2 weeks' work into all of this to build it up, and you've just ruined it in about 2 seconds.
What do you mean? I put work into it.
You put no work into anything.
I
You
have.
weren't even at home when we were meant to start the podcast.
Look, I put all my notes in the back of a Coles receipt. But I've put work into it. So yeah, positional changes for guys like McCreary, Perryman, get them on ball more. Josh Dacos, but anyway, okay, that's enough. I'm getting.
You've literally mentioned pretty much every single player, which I was going to go into depth about. You've basically given me nothing.
You're okay. You can expand on it.
Oh my god. And you've done it in the at the wrong time as well.
Jesus Christ.
Do you want to read out a couple of things on the receipt? On the what did you buy from Coles?
This is like freaking trying to do a podcast in Russia. It's very structured about what you can say, when you can say it. The Coles Wheat Bix, Better Light Milk, Gala, raw Gala apples, the only apples I'll ever eat, and bananas.
Bananas? Is that all you got? Because it was a pretty big receipt.
Yeah, no, it's a big receipt. They got all their paraphernalia.
What's the strangest thing on your receipt that not many people would expect you to buy?
Thing?
Yeah, maybe not many people go to the supermarket and get it.
Well, I'm going to disappoint you because nothing. It's just like I said, bananas, cereal. What the hell are you talking about?
It's a long receipt. It feels like you bought a lot.
Well, it's a long receipt because it's got all the ads on the. Let's move it. For once, I'm going to be the one to say let's move on.
What's the total amount that you spent?
$26.03.
Okay, so it isn't a big receipt then.
No, it's not. No. Let's move on from the receipt.
All right, let's move on from the receipt.
Concentrate on what's on the back of the receipt rather than on the front of the receipt.
Let's talk about the other players that have left us, and we'll start with Mason Cox. Yesterday was given the news that he will not be offered a contract in 2026, which personally I think is wrong. I think we may have spoken about in the last pod.
We did.
The new ruck rule with the
ruck rules, yes.
Them scrapping the bounce. It's going to favour pretty much the tallest guys. There's it's very predictable. So there's no unpredictability with the bounce now. So the tallest guy's just going to whack it out. Your Mason Cox of the world, your Max Gorlons, those guys are going to have a field day. And we got rid of him, which was strange, seen as though he ended the season in the team as well, so he wasn't completely out of favour. He played his role nicely, and we made him wait till after the trade period. We added no one that should really be pushing him off the list. I know we got Buller, who's 199 centimetres, but he's more of a forward second ruck, which I guess Cox is as well. But if Cameron was to go down injured, Buller's probably not going to be our number one ruck, is he? Well, I'd hope he wouldn't, whereas Cox would be able to fill that role. We're putting a lot of faith in the development of Oscar Steen by getting rid of Cox, unless we, at some point in the rookie draft or as SSP, we do find another mature age ruck, which I think we now should definitely target. But
maybe this is an example of what I say. Maybe they do intend to get more games into the young guys, including Oscar Steen. Maybe they think it's time for Oscar Steen to be playing more senior footy.
Okay, but
to fast track his development.
I get that. So, but let's just say round one next year, Darcy Cameron goes down with a knee injury, the worst possible result.
Oh yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Oscar Steen's second in line, so he becomes the number one ruck. But let's just say by round 3 or 4, it's obvious that he just can't compete. Wouldn't it be nice as a third option to bring Mason Cox in?
Oh, yeah.
Because right now, if you don't have Cox, which we don't, and we don't pick up another mature age guy, we're literally stuck with Oscar Steen until the mid-season draft, and we can finally get ourselves another mature age player. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
That could be the name for one of our pods next year. Stuck with Oscar Steen. I can see it now. It's going to be a good one. I'll write that down.
But basically...
I didn't want to get rid of Cox. No, mistake. I think mistake, and I think he'll bob up somewhere else. I think he'll bob up at an Essendon.
Oh, wouldn't that be heartbreaking? Imagine him watching him on Anzac Day against us.
And what's he paid? I think he looked it up the other day. He's paid like 138, 139 games.
139 games, 127 goals.
So he might pop up for his 150th at another club. Wouldn't that be for a guy who came from America, didn't know the sport existed until he was well into his 20s, there's no game like it in America, not like the Irish guys. Gaelic has got similarities, but there's nothing like Aussie rules in America. What a fantastic effort to have played 138 games so far.
139. It's
139, sorry.
one of the greatest individual stories in football history, and non-Collingwood fans would hate to hear that because they all seem to hate on Cox. The big, arrogant American, plays for Collingwood. Nobody likes him other than Collingwood fans. He's actually a ripper bloke. If people just watch him on his, well, he doesn't do his podcast anymore, but I think he does another one. But if they actually listen to him, he actually comes across as a really good fella. Great story, absolutely fantastic story, and he wasn't just. I guess he was, in a way, just a role player, especially in home and away football. But come finals time, he was an absolute superstar. He was a big game performer, not just that famous prelim against Richmond. We've talked about it many a times. He did it again in 2020 against West Coast, ripped them apart in the first quarter. His whole 2023 final series as our number one ruck was just incredible. And then it's just fitting that his last game of football, well, at least his last game of football for Collingwood, was in a prelim final and he kicked the first goal of that game. And then even other game, like 2018 grand final, people say, he didn't play that well.
No, he played okay.
Goals. He still kicked two big goals. It's just that basing off the week before where he played close to the greatest ever finals game anyone's ever played. Of course, it's going to be hard to back that up the next week, but he still kicked two crucial goals. Yeah. Just a fantastic, fantastic big game performer. Full respect to Mason Cox. Full respect to him. And part of me doesn't want him to go on. I know that's a little bit selfish, but I just want to see him as a one-club Collingwood player, especially if he goes to an incident or something.
I wouldn't deny him going on, though.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
And the third and final player I want to talk about, another guy that was not offered a contract yesterday, and that's Tom Mitchell. Wasn't with us quite as long as the other two. In fact, he only played, what did he do? 36 games. 36 games for the Pies. But he was just huge in 2023.
He was one of the missing pieces.
100%. We went from, what were we? 1 point off a grand final in 22 to premiers in 2023. And he was just a huge part of that. His grand final, completely underrated. 24 disposals, 10 tackles. It was it 12 clearances and kept Lachie Neale quiet as well?
Yeah, which gets bigger and bigger the more you see Lachie Neale playing big finals. So it kept him to, am I right in saying 9? I think he might have got 19 possessions. Might be wrong there. But Lachie Neale got 19 possessions. Mitchell 24. He didn't play the flashy game, but that was Norm Smith medal worthy.
Oh, he got votes. He got votes.
Oh, did he? He got votes.
I think he got votes. Yeah.
Yeah, he could have won the Norm Smith, and that would have been quite justified.
I love that. 36 games at Collingwood, becomes a premiership hero. He played 100. He played 106 at the Hawks and 65 at the Swans. And I've heard him say many times on his podcast, he's now found his club. He's a Collingwood man through and through, and he will be to the day he dies. He's just, despite only playing in 36 games, the love he has for this club, is just incredible. And we're forever grateful.
Real pity his last 2 years. He just couldn't get on the park.
Yeah, it
is. Because I think it. Look, I'm not sure if another club's going to pick him up because I'm not convinced he can't still be serviceable if he gets his body right. Because he's really not that old. Is he like 31?
I've got his Wikipedia page up here. He's 32.
32. Well,
that's young for Collingwood.
Yeah, exactly. He could go on for another. He's
33
never
next year.
Normally if you're 32, the next stop is 33, I would have thought.
Yeah, 33,
Yeah, but he's one of those guys, of course, never relied on his pace.
No.
So that's, he could go on for another couple of years at least, I reckon.
Well, I think I heard a while ago, just before the trade period, that West Coast might be interested, but I haven't heard anything since then, so I'm not sure. But I feel a bit disappointed for him because I gave him, before the trade period, I gave him basically no chance of surviving because I said, okay, like Mason Cox, just wait and see and we'll decide after the trade period. But then, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, the fail, we went after Clayton Oliver, we went after Jai Simpkin, we went after James Rowbottom, and we didn't manage to get any of them. And we got no midfielders.
We even had a talk to Jamara Ugle-Hagan.
Very good, Michael. I'm talking about inside mids.
Oh, okay.
Just stay out.
Because I've got something to say about Jamara later on.
Oh God, this podcast can't end.
Is
quick
this
enough.
a good time to say it?
No, it's not a good time to say
Dermott,
it.
why are you so structured? Why can't
Because
we
we're
just
talking about Tom Mitchell, you big buffoon. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I thought. All right, go on.
My
Together.
point being, we talked to Clayton Oliver, we talked to Jai Simpkin, we talked to James Rowbottom. We failed at getting all those guys. We didn't get any more inside mids. So then why did we then let Tom Mitchell go? What were we waiting for?
I see the point.
That was my point.
I see. The point has now materialised. What you were getting at?
You're unbelievable. You're unbelievable. But
I could see now Jamara might have been irrelevant to this conversation. But we will get back to him because I've got something to say about Jamara.
Okay, it's
a
good teaser right there.
It's on the back of my receipt from Coles.
So that was strange that we didn't get any of our targets. We added no inside mids, and then we let him go anyway. I feel like I just don't understand why we made him wait, but then if you look anyway, back to his whole career, we talked about his time at Collingwood, but he was an underrated player. He played 207 games. He was All-Australian twice. He was best and fairest winner 3 times with the Hawks. He won the Lee Matthews Trophy in 2018 and, of course, the Brownlow Medal in 2018. So before he came to us, he had a very successful career, an underrated career, because he's going to be one of those guys, I reckon in 15, 20 years' time, the kids then will have no idea who Tom Mitchell is. Although they might know him as a media performer, because he's a very good media performer. He might be doing that kind of thing. But and he was known before he came to Pies as that absolute ball magnet, regularly getting 40 disposals. He used to rack up against us. He had a great record against us when he was at the Hawks. And
over 50 one game, wasn't it?
I think a couple of games of over 50 against us. And then his time at Sydney when he just wasn't getting the game, the Horse just didn't seem to like him. He was racking up 50, 60 disposals at knee full level constantly. He ended up playing the 65 games for them. Played a really good grand final for the Swans in 2016 against the Bulldogs, one of their better players that day. So a very underrated player, I think. What are you giggling about? You're thinking about Jamara again, aren't you?
No. I'm jumping at shadows, wondering, or should I say this and should I say it now? Is it the right time and the right thing to say?
Just use your brain, Michael. Talking about
Oliver.
Jamara halfway through mentioning Tom Mitchell was weird.
You mentioned Oliver, so this is a good segue. I can justify talking about Oliver.
One more thing before we get to Oliver.
I'm going to say heavens to Betsy. Freaking hell, I can't say anything. Go on.
We think those 3 players are absolute premiership
they're not
heroes.
Listening, Dermott.
But
those 3 players aren't listening to this. All right, keep on going.
People can see you right now on your drink.
I'll tell you what, next year when I'm hosting, things are going to be changing.
You're not hosting. 2 other players that we haven't heard anything about. Maybe by the time this podcast has been released, we will know. It is 9:52 a.m. on Sunday, the 19th of October. Lockie Sullivan and Noah House. Still heard nothing about them. It'd be a little bit weird if we let both of them go because Sullivan played, I think, the 14 games before he did his PCL. Played a solid role for us. He's not ever going to be best 23. But, he's going to be good depth if we struggle with injuries. And Noah Howes, we picked up in the mid-season draft as a, 19-year-old key forward, obviously going to take a while to develop. But he showed really good signs in the VFL. And the prospect of potentially letting him go after 6 months when he was a project player and he was showing good signs would be strange. Because if we're going to go down that route, we may as well pick another mature age guy in the mid-season draft as backup for, if there were injuries, like a Rowan Steele, another guy like a Rowan Steele. So it's just strange that we haven't offered him a contract yet. What's your opinion on that? Would you like to see both of them stay or go or what?
I agree with you about Howes. I don't see the point in letting him go after having only been at the club a few months and then showing a little bit of form in the twos, being a key forward. Well, we haven't got a lot of proven key forwards going around at the moment. So if we got one showing a bit of potential, you'd re-sign him, wouldn't you? I would have thought. Lockie Sullivan, he played a number of games last year before his knee went bang. So he was in our, for a while there, he was in our close to our best 22, 23. I think he played. What did he play?
14
14,
games.
15 games. Yeah, so I'd be surprised if they'd let him go, especially where now I know you said that they're not playing similar. They haven't been playing similar roles, but they're similar players.
Not this again.
This again, yes.
Well,
Jesus.
it's just an irrelevant point, and you keep on bringing it up.
What we're going to do? No. I tell you what. The big change next year, listeners, is Dermott's going to write me a script, and he's going to have prompts within that script about when I can say it.
Can I take a guess at what you're going to say?
I'll say
now that we've got rid of Tom Mitchell, Lockie Sullivan should stay on. Is that what you're going to say? Because you've said it like 58 times in the last.
Now that we've got rid of Tom Mitchell and Finn McRae, who aren't dissimilar players to Lockie Sullivan, then maybe we should keep Lockie Sullivan as for a bit of depth.
Yeah, but Lockie Sullivan plays as basically a small pressure forward. He doesn't play inside mid in the AFL.
But that's not his natural role. His natural role is as an inside mid.
Yeah, but he doesn't play that role in the AFL, whereas Mitchell and Finn McRae did. So
that doesn't mean he won't in the future.
Oh, I don't think he will.
Oh well, come
there's
on.
There's a lot of guys that could go through there.
We've hardly. Oh, really? It's hardly our strength at the moment. Our on ballers.
So we're going to turn to Lockie Sullivan. He's our go-to. He's going to be our saviour in the midfield.
We're hardly Brisbane Lions. No, I'm just talking about depth. He could add to the depth.
I mean, if we had 19 injuries to midfielders, he might get a go.
Anyway, you could be like I said next year. Just write me the script, and I'll just say what you want me to say, Dermot, when you want me to say it.
It's taken 44 episodes, but you've cracked the
hell.
shits. He's cracked the shits,
and with some justification.
Oh,
with some justification.
Right.
So
to the trade period. Before the trade period. All right. Well, you can.
No, go ahead. Keep on going.
We're getting to the part that you want to talk about.
Okay,
so heading into the trade period. I think we named the last podcast "Don't Fall Behind," because all these clubs were getting linked to big guns. We weren't really strongly linked to anyone. I said we needed to pull something off, and you agreed, and we didn't. But in saying that, there's a number of clubs that were meant to do things that didn't. So Geelong, they were confident that at the start of the trade period, they were confident they could secure Curnow and Rowan Marshall. They ended up with neither. Hawks were confident they were going to get Zach Merritt. They didn't. And the Crows, they were in the hunt for Christian Petrarca. They didn't get him. Those three clubs got no one. The Crows would end up getting Archie in the preseason draft, which is a good get. But overall, they haven't improved their list so much that they should now be leaping a long way ahead of us. The teams that did, Brisbane, they got Oscar Allen, Sam Draper. So they're going to get a bit better. Gold Coast absolutely smashed it. They got Petrarca and Jamara, and they're going to add some more kids in the draft that are rated as a top 5. So they should be the big improvers. And Sydney, I expect to sort of jump back up there now. They got the easier draw because they missed the finals, and they add Charlie Curnow, and their key forwards were their real weakness. I think they got a good midfield, good defence. Grundy's back to his best in the ruck, but their weakness was the forward line. So I think they've now sorted that out. So they're the teams that are going to get better. But overall, I don't think we're going to be left behind as much as what I was predicting at the start of the trade period based on what the Cats, Hawks and Crows did. We'll talk a little bit about what we did in the trade period. Michael, do you want to talk about Clayton Oliver?
Oh, please. Can I go through my list while I've got a chance?
Go on. I'll let you have a go.
Clayton Oliver, is he one of the biggest trade stuff-ups in history, along with Petty and Grundy? Considering a year ago, Geelong offered a first rounder and to pay his whole salary. Considering what they've now got. They've now contributed about half his salary and they've got a third rounder.
I could be wrong in saying this, but was it the year before Geelong wanted him?
No, last year.
No. The year before Geelong wanted him.
Yeah,
so did the Crows... I'm pretty sure the Crows offered him a big contract and offered a couple of first rounders to get him as well. So they've had back-to-back years where they could have done something... Yeah, no, they fucked up, didn't they?
Yeah. It was almost as bad as Petty when Adelaide offered them 2 first rounders for Petty, and of course Grundy. Jamara, I've got the floor now.
Oh, can we stay on Clayton Oliver just for a bit?
All right.
So before in the last pod, we were talking about at that point it only just come out that Melbourne were letting him go, and we were both desperate for Collingwood to go after him. And I said, we're just not brave enough, though. We're not brave enough to attempt it. Well, we were. We were one of two clubs that went after him, so that was good. I'm glad that we did. He didn't choose us, obviously. Ended up at the Giants, but did we just sit on our hands for too long? So the moment he was available, GWS was straight onto it. Straight onto it. It just felt like we were waiting around for days. Oh yeah, we're gonna give him a call. We're gonna meet up with him. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. And during that time, he was hanging out with the Giants players. He was hanging out with the Giants coaches. They were doing all the work, and we were just sitting there waiting. I mean, I'm glad that we did go after him, but I just feel like we didn't go as hard as what we should have. We should have just been like that straight. He was already going on a holiday to Sydney, so that was a good advantage for the Giants. Lepers should have just been straight on that plane to go out there that day. None of this. What was the point in waiting 3-4 days? At that point, he basically made up his mind. I think that was disappointing, and they got him for a future third-round pick. Like Jesus fucking Christ! Like I know he might not be any good, but he's going to be better than that.
Yes, Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, very respectful.
Well, what do you think? Do you think we just waited around too long?
It's hard to know. They might have contacted him straight away, and he might have said, "Listen, I'm going up to Sydney. I just want a couple of days by myself, and then I've got GWS, and then I'll see you after that." So he could have been driving the schedule. Who knows? But it was disappointing. But apparently, he wanted to get out of Melbourne. So the conjecture was he wanted to get out of the fishbowl of Melbourne. So we're up against it. And brings me to Jamara. Can I finally talk about Jamara on the third?
Oh, do you want to talk about Jamara?
I'd like to talk about Jamara.
Let's talk about Jamara.
So Jamara, he's gone up to Gold Coast on $250,000 a year, reportedly, and in exchange for a third rounder.
I think it was pick 75, whatever that is.
Now, $250,000 a year. Apparently, he too wanted to get out of Melbourne. Why couldn't the Pies have said, "Okay, Jamara, we'll offer you $350,000. Is $100,000 more enough for you to convince you to stay in Melbourne?" Because apparently nobody else is interested. Collingwood had a bit of interest in him. Couldn't we have said we'll pay you an extra $150,000 a year? Still dirt cheap considering the average wage of AFL footballers is $500,000 a year. This guy has got a lot of talent. He's like 23. Yes, we can, as the Gold Coast have now done, we can put a million clauses in his contract to keep him on the straight and narrow. We could sign him up for a year. But did they try that? Did they say, "Yeah, we understand, Jamara, you don't want to be in Melbourne, but would $150,000 extra a year convince you to stay?" Did they do that?
No. So here's the thing. I don't know for sure that we were interested. Like, this was never out in the public that we were into him. It's you and I. We've got a source, I guess, and we won't say who it is.
Let's say who it is.
No, let's not. That was
I want to say who it is. What do you always say?
They were saying that. Don't be a dickhead. I'm actually worried that you were going to say it then, but you didn't. Yeah, they were saying that we had a bit of interest. I don't think that's 100%.
Eddie Maguire.
Yes, Eddie Maguire, yes. But, yeah, if we didn't, I would have liked to have had some interest. I agree with you. Basically, I agree with you. Yeah.
If they didn't have interest, they should have had interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy can play, can obviously play. I like footballers who can play football. I don't care so much about their baggage. If a guy
you care about Bobby Hill's baggage.
Well, the thing is, Bobby Hill can play, but the point is, Bobby Hill doesn't play. So let's not get started on Bobby Hill.
No. I've got something to tell you, which I haven't told you yet. So, just after we completed the podcast a few weeks ago, it came out that he played in that Indigenous All-Stars match again.
Yep.
And you weren't happy about that?
No.
No.
Was I not happy? Probably wasn't happy. Yeah. Considering,
You're
anyway,
saying, he could injure himself and all this.
I don't like players playing in those representative games. Whether it's Pendlebury playing Gaelic football against Ireland, and when he broke his finger, I don't like any of that.
Well, I can tell you now that he played in another one last night.
Oh. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, what can you? I think I've said it. All I've got to say about Bobby Hill. Yeah. So,
do you want to track? Oh wow! Sorry, I'm sorry that I'm not sticking to your script, Mick. Sorry.
No, but you kind of interrupted. So back to my philosophy. My philosophy is the biggest tick when you're looking at a footballer is, can they play the game? And if there's a big tick in that box, then you make concessions further down for boxes that maybe that aren't ticked. Okay,
Yeah, that's
so and along these lines are guys like Jamara. It's guys like Elijah Hollands, who has been delisted by Carlton.
Yeah, talk about him a bit because I know you're interested. He's
well,
not someone that we mentioned in our last podcast.
Yeah, well, Elijah Hollands is a pick 5 or pick 7 in the 2020 draft, so obviously has talent.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't go top 10 without talent.
Can I say he was actually predicted to go number 1, but then he hurt his knee in that in his last year of under 18s footy. Yeah.
So I had a couple of years at Gold Coast. I believe he had off-field issues at Gold Coast. Don't quote me on that, but he certainly then went to Carlton where he did definitely have off-field issues. Yeah. Okay. But whenever I saw him, I think he played a couple of games against Collingwood while Carlton, and he's a good player. He worried me. So
he's better than his brother.
Oh, far better than his brother. So he's about 23 now. If we can get him into the club again on a type of contract that Gold Coast apparently have with Jamara, with clauses in place, he'd be dirt cheap. See, if we can get him right. Well, what a huge uplift on the other side.
I'm with you. Okay. At the start, I didn't care so much, but the more I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, Mick's onto something here. Like he may as well.
Don't worry, I'm onto stuff.
I could be wrong. I don't want to quote him, but I believe in our chat, I think Andreas might have been interested in Elijah Hollands as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, another one that we've spoken about in the past is Jaden Stevenson. He can play the game. Yep. He can play the game. The only question mark over Jaden Stevenson was his maturity when he was at Collingwood. Well, now he's another 3-4 years older. We can, again, get him for bugger all. He'd fit our game style down to a T. We'd play him where he should be played, which is in the forward line. He's not a half-back flanker that Clarkson tried to turn him into. So get him back to the club because he can play the game. The other one I'm not going to mention because
no. I was actually worried you're going to mention it.
It'll upset Dermott. He gets fired up. That guy who I'm not going to mention,
Thomas,
is an absolute. Well, you mentioned it. I was going to.
Because people are going to be wondering what the hell you're going on about.
Is an absolute jet of a footballer.
He's
absolute
not.
Jet.
He hasn't actually achieved anything, but
no. Well, he can play the game. Don't worry about that. He was
another one playing with Bobby Hill last night. Actually,
he's a very talented footballer.
But he's just a fucking. Oh, don't even get me started.
Yeah,
we don't want people like him. I agree with everyone else, even Jamara. But he's just absolute scum of the earth, is Taron Thomas, and I think 99% of people watching this would agree.
And the other one, the Dermott you put it onto the table the other week.
Oh, did I?
The race for Ryan Burton.
Oh, yeah.
Who's winning the race for Ryan Burton, Dermott?
I heard his name is being floated around as a delisted free agent. I'm hearing it. Have you turned? Are you on board?
Well, I understand that a lot of clubs, having learnt that he hadn't passed away from old age, got really excited about it. Ryan Burton.
Yes.
Bloody hell.
Righto. So we've had trade period. So Oliver, we missed out on that. Like I said before, we went hard at Jai Simpkin, really hard.
Oh.
Well, kind of hard. Like we were really interested, but we were never going to give what North Melbourne wanted.
Didn't we offer them a first rounder?
Well, originally, I'm really confused by the situation. Maybe people in our comments section could tell us what actually went on. It was reported that we did offer, I think, a future first rounder to get him. But then apparently, I swear I heard, I think it was Kel Toomey and then maybe even Leper backed it up. Our best offer was a second rounder, a future second rounder.
Yeah.
Wanted, and this is my theory on him. Lots of people were carrying on. Oh, I don't want Jai Simpkin, and you being one of them. Jai Simpkin's a good footballer. He's not a great footballer. He's not a difference maker, but he's a very solid, good footballer. He's 100% worth a second round pick. He's worth a pick at 25 or something. And he's a good age bracket. And I was all for getting him for a future second rounder. I never wanted to give up a first rounder, especially 2 first rounders, which North were asking for. I never wanted that, but I was on board for a second round. So I was disappointed that we didn't get him, but I was also relieved that we didn't give up the first rounder. Because with Zach Butters next year, trying to get him, Port will match whatever Collingwood or whoever he chooses offer him. So we will eventually have to trade for him if he chooses Collingwood. So we can't afford to be giving up first round picks for guys like Jai Simpkin. But I think him and James Rowbottom, who I think Fly was on the phone to, we offered a second rounder for him. That didn't happen. A guy that I'm surprised we didn't go after. If we're going after Oliver and we're going after Simpkin, we're going after Rowbottom. I'm surprised that we didn't offer Jack Steele a contract, because he fits right in with those kinds of guys, and he ended up going to Melbourne for a third round pick like Oliver did to GWS. And I would have just done that for a third rounder. I would have definitely taken Jack Steele. I wouldn't have paid any more than that. But they're the guys that we sort of targeted during the trade period, minus Jack Steele, of course. We disappointed that we weren't able to get anyone of note. Like, is there any? Did you? I know you didn't want a Simpkin. Did you want a Rowbottom?
Well, it really depends on the deal. Like, when I said I didn't want a Simpkin, that's when there was speculation about 1 or even 2 first round picks. So I just said, no way. Had we been able to get a Jai Simpkin, as you say, maybe for a mid to later second rounder, I might have been interested. Because, as I said, he is a decent footballer, but just when the talk of the first round stuff just put me off. Rowbottom, depending on the deal. He's an inside mid, isn't he? He's kind of a smaller type inside
I remember
mid.
having a conversation with you over text, and you were getting frustrated. You were convinced that he was Ollie Florent.
I thought he was Ollie Florent.
I was like, oh no, he's just an inside mid, like a Tom Mitchell type. No, he's a wingman. I'm like, what do you mean he's a wingman? What are you talking about? Then it turns out you're talking about Ollie Florent. You're getting cocky about it.
Why is it? And you're not the only one who does this.
Is
when you're recounting a conversation we have, when you impersonate me and quote me, you do so in a voice that depicts me as a moron.
You are.
Your impersonation. I think I know why you're doing it. It's to kind of highlight what I say as being ridiculous and what you say as being so wise.
It is wise. A couple of other players that we were linked to, the big fish at the start of the trade period, Bailey Humphrey. Yes. That was growing legs for a while there. I know Xander Maguire was very strong on it, and then a lot of the other journos. He was obviously spotted with the Melbourne coaching staff. He was posting all kinds of things on Instagram, Bailey Humphrey, basically trying to get Gold Coast to trade him. It's going to be awkward now. He has to walk back in there. Not as awkward as Zach Merritt, but it'll still be a bit awkward. That was real. That was 100% real, but we just weren't able to get it done. No one was.
I think we could have. I said why at the time, and I think we could have got it done, and I think they would have taken it. I think they would have. The three, and I'm not going to harp on it, but the 3-way deal between a WA club, ourselves, and Gold Coast, where they get Bobby Hill, that's the WA club. WA club sends picks to Gold Coast, and then Humphreys to us. I think could have got it done. I think that would have been.
I don't think they were ever going to trade him. In hindsight now.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And Hawthorn. I think Hawthorn, had they got merit, they would have been a realistic chance of winning the premiership next year.
Well, they still are.
I can't see them winning. I can't see them getting ahead of Brisbane and the Gold Coast now. I think they should have. Like, premierships are hard to win. If they'd thrown in a different player to Huswaite, I've got the feeling that it would have got the job done.
Cam McKenzie's the one. Like, Cam McKenzie's a gun player, but he wasn't getting a game for them. Yeah. And basically, if you want a missing piece to your premiership puzzle, you sometimes you just got to pull that trigger. I think they fucked up. And I say good. I hate Essendon more than anyone, but I say good on them. Good on them. What? The criticism that's going Essendon's way from some people is ridiculous. Like, that is their captain. That is their player. He is contracted for 4 more years. Yeah, they were open to trade him, but only for the right price. And they didn't get the right price, so they're not going to trade him. They're not going to get bent over for a premiership contender, one of their arch rivals in the Hawks. Like,
bent over, quite charming. Tune into Into the Woods for our charm. Bent over.
Zach Butters, that felt real for a couple of days too, but Port just weren't willing to get rid of him, which I think is a mistake because he's going at the end of next year. He's going to leave as a free agent. Yeah, they'll match the offer and they'll get something back from it, but it won't be as much as what they could have got this year. As a contracted player, they could have asked for the world for him. So I would understand if Port Adelaide were in premiership contention in 2026 that they want to hold him for one more year and try and get that flag, but they're not. I don't think they're in finals contention. So that was a strange decision. I would have let him go if I was Port, but anyway, it's going to be a hot topic for all of next year, not just for us on this podcast, just in the AFL world in general. We're going to be talking a lot about Zach Butters.
Yeah, and just as the AFL created the monster 25 years ago when they allowed Brisbane Lions to have all the $800,000 additional in their salary cap back then, which was a lot of money back then, of course. They've created another monster, and they're finally tightened up the academy rules starting next year, but they're shutting the gate after the horse has bolted once again. How has Gold Coast got picks 6 and 7 this year, of which I know they've traded one.
They traded to Melbourne.
Yeah, they traded to Melbourne. But how did Gold Coast have picks 6 and 7 plus academy picks that you've told me they've got 2 academy picks that you've told me have been rated as top 5 picks in the draft?
Uland and Patterson, but but they wouldn't have got those 2 and picks 7 and 8 or whatever it is. Like those picks would have been swallowed up for those academy players.
But how have they got 2 top 10 picks as it is now, having played finals? This is crazy.
No. Well, no. They wouldn't have just been gifted them. I can't remember how they got them. It must have been some kind of trade. Did they get future picks last year and did they lose them?
Look, I don't know. But at the end of the day, the AFL have again created. They're going to have created a monster.
Well, let's just hope they go in the same path as GWS and just never end up winning a flag.
Because you could see Gold Coast competing for a flag for the next 10 years. You could see that. You could see them nabbing 3 or 4 flags in the next 10-year period. I wouldn't be surprised if we have an All Queensland final next year, grand final, which is exactly what the AFL want, because of course I don't think I'm ever going to see a level playing field when it comes to footy in my lifetime, because it's just going to be just all about artificial expansion into the northern states.
They're going to be looking after Tassie for a bit as well.
Oh, yeah, but really, Tassie's already a footy state. They want to win over the northern states. Yeah. That's going to be their priority. They can't afford any more than one of Sydney, GWS, Gold Coast and Brisbane to drop down the ladder at any one point. They want to keep all these sides artificially competing year in, year out. And to hell with the Melbournes of the world or any Victorian club, really. They can sink or swim as far as they're concerned. There you go.
All right, one more player I want to touch on, and you're free to talk about anyone after this guy if you've got more players in your notes. So I just want to make that clear.
Freedom!
Because you'll crack the shits if I move on and you've got more to talk about.
The Commandant has granted me freedom. Thank you, Commandant.
Oh, actually, I've got a couple more after that. Sorry. Lika Leah. So we all know what happened with him and St Kilda. I believe it's an absolute disgrace. Most people do, and we won't bother getting into it. If you haven't heard about it, just look it up. But he was basically free to go to anyone after that. And I'm surprised. Like, we tried to get Jack Silvani, that fell through. He chose the Saints. We were interested in the Stephen May. He failed a medical. So we clearly were interested in getting ourselves a key defender, it's an half-back or whatnot. And then this guy's on the market, and all GWS were asking from St Kilda was a future second rounder. I would have been happy to give up that future second rounder, the one that we were offering up for Simkin, to get this guy. Like, a lot of people probably like, who the hell is Lika Leah? But like, he was, I think, picked 14, 15. He's only played about 20 odd games. He's probably about 23, 24 now. The reason, and every time he plays, he looks all right. The reason he doesn't play regularly is because Giants have got a great backline. They've got Sam Taylor, Himmelberg, and of course Jack Buckley. So you can't really go in them with a fourth tall. He's just unlucky.
Iden's another one they got down there.
Iden, of course, yeah. So it's just a hard backline for him to break into. It just seemed like he had no interest after the St Kilda fell through. North took a little look at him. I'm surprised. Like, the Dogs were another team that were after Silvani, then they were after Wilkie, but then they had no interest in him either. So He's now signed a 2-year contract to the Giants. He's someone that I really would have liked to have got. I don't know what your opinion is. Yeah.
Well, I think so. I see him more, from what I know of him, not so much a key back. He's more of a third back in the Jeremy Howe mode. I thought he would have made a good long-term replacement for Howe. Obviously getting him a bit of exposure. He's still pretty raw. So I was surprised. Yeah, they didn't have a go at him. Yeah.
Other names, DeGoey. There was just so many whispers right throughout this trade period that DeGoey was going to go, but he was not strongly linked with any club in particular. I was terrified. I didn't want to lose Geordie. I did not want to lose Geordie. It didn't make sense to me that we're re-signing all these over 30 guys and then we got rid of DeGoey, who's our best finals player. That would make no sense because obviously by signing guys like Sarbottom, Howe, Pendlebury, all these guys, we obviously as a club still feel like we're in the window. So if that was the case, why would we then be trading our best finals player? I've got a little bit to say about DeGoey when I talk about our best 23. But for the time being, there's no way I would have ever traded him. And Lepper came out and said that it was just all whispers and there was no truth to it. But of course, he's going to say that, isn't he? He's not going to be like, oh yeah, we shopped him around and there was no interest. Yeah. So I don't know what to believe. Lepper could be telling the truth. Maybe there wasn't, but you also can't believe that he's saying that there wasn't. So I don't know. And then Jacob Blight, we talked about him a little bit in the last pod. From the Tigers, delisted, a big key defender. He's someone that we may pick up in the next couple of weeks as a delisted free agent, similar to what we did with Tim Membry last year. So we just keep an eye on that. The one player that we did get, and we saved him right to the end, and that's Jack Buller from the Swans. Basically got him we got Jack Buller and a future 4th round pick in exchange for a future 3rd round pick. So basically we just moved down from a 3rd rounder to a 4th rounder next year and got Jack Buller, which is quite similar to the trade that we did to get Darcy Cameron. So hopefully he's more of a Darcy Cameron type than, as you said before, a Jesse White type.
Yes.
But he's actually the exact same age as what Darcy Cameron was when he joined the Pies, from the exact same club, and both WA boys that came from the same Waffle club.
No, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Look, just judging on, as I said last week, what some of the Sydney supporters are saying, they're very disappointed to have lost him. So that's a good sign. And he's a type of player we need. We needed a forward who could pinch hit into ruck. And McStay wasn't that person. He just wasn't tall enough. McStay's just not tall enough to pinch hit into ruck. And of course, Cox probably just isn't good enough as a forward to be a main forward and pitching in ruck. Cox is really a ruckman in my view, more of a permanent ruckman. So this guy hopefully fits the bill. He's 199 centimetres, as you say. So yeah.
Rightio. So then we look ahead to the draft. And one day when we're doing this pod, we'll do a couple of draft specials when we've got a really sort of relevance draft hand, like what Richmond did last year, for example, or what Essendon got this year. But there's no point in doing a draft special when we've got picks 39, 45, 56, 61, 77, 95, and 113. Basically nothing of note is going to happen. We'll take an interest in who we get. Hopefully we get a couple of bargains. One player we won't get is Tom McGuan. You ruined him, Nick. Your segment, since your segment came out, it was the downfall of Tom McGuan.
Well, I think the Pies jumped off Tom McGuan about the same time as I jumped off the Tom McGuan watch segment. So, look, there's still a chance we could get him.
Oh, we could get him as a rookie, I think.
Well, obviously, he's a real enigma, isn't he? Well, not so much Tom McGuan's an enigma. The media speculation over the years has been enigmatic, in that you've had journos come out saying he's a top 5 pick, and then since then, he's progressively dropped further and further down the picks. And then he was, he's a first rounder. And then he was a top 30. And now he's not even going to be picked up, maybe. Like when I said a few pods ago that I'd he played those 2 VFL games for Collingwood, and they'd both been televised. So I watched him in both, and I said to you on the pod, he's not playing senior footy next year.
No.
So he just looked a couple of steps off it. Apparently, did he get selected for Vic Metro? I'm not sure if he made the final cut there.
Don't know.
For their side.
It's disappointing. Imagine if he went to a Carlton or a Essendon and ended up becoming a good player. How devastating would that be?
Yeah, that was. So
I hope we get him as a rookie just so we give him that chance. And you never know. He could be like a Josh Dacos.
Yeah, he could be. Yeah. Quaynor's brother, he's another one. How's he coming through this year?
Quaynor's brother.
Quaynor's brother. Yeah, he was.
I think we put an end to that years ago. He was meant to be picked up a couple of years ago, Mick. I don't think you're...
No, it was this year. No, he was playing this year. There was speculation he could get.
He's got a lot of brothers. I know there's a few in the last few years that have been talked about.
There was speculation earlier this year whether he would get into Vic Metro's side.
I've heard nothing, so I don't think that's good.
Since then, so
and Oscar Loney's the other one. He was talked about a year ago. Now I'm hearing nothing. Basically to me that says that he's no chance. Zach McCarthy, we can pick him up. Maybe we haven't actually nominated him yet. He's that key forward. Ruck, and he's still meant to be a second round player. So I'd like to get him. But we don't rate key position players, do we? So that'll be interesting. All right. Now, the best 23. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we get to the best 23 for 2026?
No, I can talk about stuff later. That's all right. Go for your best 23.
Well, I wanted to send you it so you could follow along, but then I remembered you're going to be on your phone. And we know that you can't do 2 things at once when it comes to your phone. So
I can barely do one thing at once if I find, But,
all right. So before I read this out, there's going to be a lot of people that strongly agree that this is the right way we should go. And there's going to be a lot of people that strongly disagree. It's going to be very dividing, I think, especially with one major call. And for the people watching on YouTube, I will chuck the team below so you can see it. But I'll read it out, and I'll start with the full back line. So this is my best 23 for 2026 on the 19th of October 2025. So very, very early draft. Full back line. Jeremy Howe, Billy Frampton, Braden Maynard. Half back line, Dan Houston, Darcy Moore, and Isaac Quainer. I've then got Pendlebury on the bench as our 7th defender. So essentially I've kicked Josh Dacos out of the back line. Dan Houston is going to be that number 1 distributor like he was at Port Adelaide, because we're paying him the big bucks and we've given up a lot. He needs to play in his best role. He needs to be the number 1 distributor. And Pendlebury, it's time that we push the old fellas out of that midfield and give some young guys a bit more exposure. He can be the 2nd distributor, basically the role that Houston was doing in the first half of the year. All right, the midfield. I've got on the wings, Josh Dacos and Will Parker. I've then got Darcy Cameron in the ruck. And my on-ball division is Nick Dacos, Bo McCreary, and Ed Allen. So essentially, I'm going Josh Dacos on the wing for now. A lot of people forget he's an All-Australian wingman. He's a premiership wingman. He won a best and fairest on a wing. He can play wing. He's an elite wingman. I would like to see him go through the midfield as well, so he can split that. And Parker on the other wing, essentially, I couldn't fit him into the back line. With that back 6 that I just named, plus Pendlebury, who I want down there as my 7th defender, I couldn't fit Parker in there, but I really want him in the team. So I'd love for us to say, you are a best 18 player. You are going to be a wingman. Train all preseason on the wing. Make that spot your own. In the midfield, I really want to see Bo McCreary take that next level and have a full-time role in there. And Ed Allen, he just needs to play in that position. You need to give him game time, and he needs to play in his proper position. No more halfback, no more wing. Put him in the guts. I've then got Ned Long and Harry Perryman on the bench. So Ned Long for me is going to be that 4th banana in the midfield behind Nick Dacos, McCreary, and Ed Allen. And Harry Perryman, I don't want him to be a CBA ball-winning midfielder. What I want from Harry Perryman is to be a tagger, a run-with player. Because I'm sick of seeing guys like Hugh McCluggage and Zach Merritt get a hold of us every single time. Geelong have 3 of them, for God's sake. So good teams can do it. All I want is one, and I want a good one. And I think Harry Perryman can be that man for us. Then the half-forward line. I've got Steele Sidebottom, Charlie West, and Bobby Hill. The full forward line, Jamie Elliott, Jordan De Goey, and Lockie Schultz. So basically, I've gone a real small, medium kind of forward line here. Charlie West is the only tall, although I do have Jack Buller on the bench, and he will be the second tall and backup ruck to Cameron. And also on the bench, I've got Harvey Harrison, who's going to be another small that will come on in the forward line. I'd like to see him also push up onto the wings, Harvey Harrison. But essentially, my vocal point will be De Goey and Jamie Elliott. I want them playing deep. I want them playing really deep. I want us to save De Goey's body. I don't want De Goey getting banged up in the midfield. We need to look after him and put him in a dangerous position. And then come finals, I'm happy to see him go into the midfield and do his thing. But sort of like what Geelong do with Dangerfield, play him out of the square, play Elliott out of the square, and then have guys like Schultz and Bobby Hill and Harrison sort of around them, and still Sidebottom's the other one. Didn't rate his second half of the year, and his spot is under threat. And I say that I feel bad saying it, but it's true. Like Pendlebury, I don't want to see him in the midfield. He played well in the forward line against Adelaide in that first final, so give him the chance as a small forward. If it doesn't work, he's out. We need to play the kids. West and Buller are the only keys, which means I haven't picked Memory and I haven't picked McStay. People will say, oh, that might be a bit too much pressure on the kids, but they're not the vocal points. De Goey and Elliott are. So they're going to be playing a role sort of like what Logan Morris and Gallup did for Brisbane. It's possible. And then the bench. I've already named these guys, but like I said before, Pendlebury, Ned Long, Perryman, Harvey Harrison, and Buller. The emergencies, this is the big one. I've got Jack Crisp as an emergency, and people are going to hate me for that. Then Tim Membry and Reef McGuinness as backup down back. I got down here depth, McStay, Rowan Steele, Lipinski, traditional, I don't pick him in my first team, Harry DiMartino, Will Hayes, Joel Cochran. But Crisp is the big one. Really underwhelming season, I feel like, Jack Crisp. And I think we've just re-signed too many over 30s. I want to see guys like Parker and Allen and Harrison and West and all these guys get given opportunity. And for me, an over 30 has to drop out. And it's harsh, but I really didn't rate Jack Crisp's season. And I don't see a role for him on a regular basis. Obviously, we're going to get injuries and that kind of stuff, and you'll end up playing a lot of football. But for me, it was either Crisp or Sidebottom for that last spot in the team. And I picked Sidebottom based on the fact that I still see him potentially playing well as a forward. I feel bad saying that about Jack Crisp. As I said, one of our greatest ever value pickups. We talked about it earlier in the pod. And I'm happy to be proven wrong with that one. So that is my team. Quickly go over it again. Full back line, Howe, Frampton, Maynard. Half back line, Houston, Moore, Quainer. Centre line, Josh Dacos, Nick Dacos, Will Parker. Followers, Darcy Cameron, McCreary, Ed Allen. Half forward, Sidebottom, West, Hill. Full forward line, Elliott, De Goey, Schultz. And the bench, Pendlebury, Long, Perryman, Harvey Harrison, Jack Buller, with Crisp, Membry, and McGuinness, the 3 emergencies. What do you think, Mick?
Look, I think it's pretty good. I agree with the philosophy that you need to get games into the young guys. As I said before, let's just get games into a lot of the young guys, see how they develop, a few positional changes which you've spoken about, and just do the best we can. Hopefully that carries us as far as it can, hopefully into finals. And then at the end of next year, grab a couple of free agents if we can, and then go again for 27. The exact guys you've had coming out and coming in, it's not.
Well, what would you change?
The ones I've got a question mark on is I wouldn't mind changing the back line a little bit more. Maybe try McStay as a centre half back. If they're not going to play, if they're going to continue to play more as a backman, I think we were exposed a number of times throughout the year last year with him be an accountable backman, or he should have been an accountable backman, and he wasn't. A defensive defender, as I call him. So maybe a McStay at centre-half back just as a lockdown, and then you got Frampton at fullback, and you got Howe down, and then you just got more floating around. I'm not sure if that's a bit too tall, maybe, but I'm not sure about McStay. Maybe he should be in the side somewhere. As you say, big call on Crisp. I think his best position has always been inside mid, where he bursts out of the stoppages, and we haven't got a lot of players who can do or have proven they can do that. McCreary has the ability to do that, but that
was the hardest. I don't feel comfortable not picking Crisp. It's just when I picked this team straight away, I said to myself, I'm picking Ed Allen and I'm picking Parker and I'm picking Harrison, and no matter what, I'm going to find room for them. And that was my number one rule going in. And Ned Long was another one. Ned Long, his season was too good to then leave out. I think he played every game. So based off that, I got to the stage where, it was either Crisp or Sidebottom. And I'm just like, need to at some point play these kids.
Sidebottom, I've been saying for years he should be a small forward because he's so smart around goals. And I've put this out there over the years on Twitter or whatever the case may be. But no, you can't do that. He's got no defensive pressure. Well, no player has got everything, have they? No one's a complete player. No matter where you put them, they're going to be a little bit deficient in one area or another. But I think the positives of him as a small forward will greatly outweigh any negatives because he's just so, you could see him kicking 35 goals a year if he got a full season. And that's a good contribution as a small forward. I don't think it's outrageous to say he could kick 35.
Do you agree that guys like him and Pendlebury can't be in the midfield anymore? We need to slowly move past that.
Yeah, I think we need to start moving past it. Yeah, we just, as you say, Ed Allen needs to be played in his position, which is inside mid. And we were talking about this yesterday. We caught up with Serge.
Yes, we did. Shout out to Serge.
Did. It was good to catch up with Serge. And I said, mate, Arif McGuinness came to the club as a inside mid, as a big body midfielder. That's the only place he hasn't been played. He's been played in the forward line. He's been played in the back line. They haven't actually played him in the position for which he was recruited. Now, Mick McGuan, when we interviewed him last year, said they discovered upon recruiting Reece McGuinness that they didn't believe he had the tank they thought he did. But couldn't that tank be developed over a few pre-seasons of?
You would have thought so.
Yeah. You would have thought so. He's another one who you might give a bit more exposure to this year.
Can I get your thoughts on a couple of guys I put in it? Like I said just then, I found it really hard to fit this guy in my back seven, especially because I got Pendlebury pushing back there, and that was Will Parker. What do you think about him potentially getting a spot on the wing and just trying to make it his own? Because he's a good kick, and defensively he's very good as well, so he can float back and sort of there.
Yeah, well, I'm a big Will Parker fan. I've said a few times, whenever he's come into the side, he looks composed, and he really rarely ever makes mistakes. He just seems to have a really good temperament. I think he should be in the side.
As a wing, would you be happy to see him on a wing?
Wingman's fine. Yeah. A flanker or a wingman. One of those type of positions. And then just let him develop and see what he turns into.
And the other one I want to get go on.
Sorry, the one guy you left out was our mid-season draft who ended up...
Rowan Steele. Yeah, that was a difficult one.
Yeah.
I actually had him in... I had him in at one point I had him in ahead of Sidebottom, and I had both Sidebottom and Chris missing out, and I was like, okay, that's a bit overkill. So... yeah, I took him out.
Because he's a neat footballer. Yeah. I can see I don't think he's never going to be a star, but he's just going to be a reliable, another guy who's got good temperament.
Like guys like Rowan Steele, Harry DiMartino is another one who I didn't pick. There's still two kids that I like to see us get games into, and I would be picking both of those guys ahead of someone like a Pat Lipinski. Like I like Lipinski, and we talk about this every year, but at the end of the day, he's just a role player. So I don't think that he's that much better than these kids that he should be consistently getting games ahead of them.
Yeah, maybe I'm starting to reconsider his position in the side too, because I just think his very best isn't great. His very best, he's not. Even when he plays at his very best, he's not a great player. And maybe if he's holding back a younger guy, which is the argument I've been using for Will Hoskin-Elliott, or probably last time we'll talk about Will Hoskin-Elliott.
Oh, it won't be the last time.
Yeah, my figure, and of course Lipinski's not the age of Will Hoskin-Elliott was, but my philosophy is if you got two guys, one of them's an old bloke, one of them's a young bloke, and they're bringing the same to the table, you always go with the younger guy. Yeah. And some people say, but how about the experience of the old guy? Well, it's Collingwood aren't a side lacking experience. I think we could have done without Will Hoskin-Elliott's experience.
Well, despite me picking those 4 kids in the team, like you still got Elliott, Pendlebury, Sidebottom, all the Howe, Maynard, Moore, list goes on and on. DeGoey. There's lots of experience in his team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and we saw we can. Honestly, it could actually help us win a premiership. It could just breathe life into us. These young kids could be better than what we expect, and they could just lift us and get the energy up, and we could become a premiership team. Look at Brisbane. They did it with a mix of experience and a lot of youth. There was a lot of youth in their premiership team. I honestly think I don't think we're going to win the premiership next year. My predictions, I reckon we're going to finish anywhere between 4th and maybe 8th. Yeah. I think we're going to play finals, but I think we would be more of a chance of winning a flag by taking a risk like this than doing the same shit that we do year after year, the same old guys in the same positions, not trying anything new. Because we won 3 of our last 9 games of the season, and we're an agent list, and we've added no one other than Buller. We're not going to get better. These guys aren't magically going to get better. They are what they are. If anything, they're going to
we could get a little bit better on the back of these young kids.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I mean, the experienced guys aren't going to get Pendlebury, Sidebottom, and these guys.
No.
Well, guys like Bobby Hill, if he plays, DeGoey, if he plays, they could make us better. But I'm not sure if that's enough to completely get us to premiership glory. It could be these young kids.
I don't think we'll win the premiership next year. And unfortunately, I'm not sure if we're feeling a little bit pessimistic for the next kind of 5 or so years. I think we might have won our premiership. We won the premiership in 23, so that's a good thing. We got our premiership. I think that might see us out.
No, I want a few more.
Look, I'd love a few more, of course, but your Gold Coast are about to explode. Brisbane are going to be strong for years to come. Looking at their list, they got years of competitive football ahead of them, and then you got Freo coming up. You got Hawthorn coming up. I think that's your top 4 next year. Yeah.
Can I ask you? So a few more things I want to ask you about this team. What do you think about having a run with player? I put Harry Perryman out there as the guy I want, only because I don't think we can fit him in that back 7. And I also don't think he should be in there as a ball winner, because you got someone like a Ned Long that's going to play that role. Yeah. I just think that Harry Perryman is a very disciplined player, he's an experienced player, he's a good leader. He's got that great defensive side to him, and I just think he would make the perfect run with player. I think he could play a crucial role for us. Is that something you would like to see?
Yeah. I don't run with player as opposed to a tagger.
Maybe, but it depends. Change week to week. Sometimes I'm not against seeing the hard tag. I'm not against it.
Yeah. I've always liked the run with players, like going right back. The Cameron Lings.
He was a tagger though.
No, but he could hurt you going the other way.
Oh, sorry, that's what you meant. Sorry, I thought you meant just someone that's keeping a slight, close look at someone. But no. Yeah.
Somebody who can run, be really accountable, but also take advantage when he needs to take advantage, and be attacking and going right, as I said, right back. A Cameron Ling type, even a Brody Holland type did it a bit for Collingwood for a year or so.
Kane Corns,
but Brody Holland was, because he knew his way around goals as well. He could actually hurt you on the scoreboard because he was a naturally gifted.
Lakiria did it a bit for us as well, didn't he?
Yeah, Lakiria a bit more negative. But like the year before last, when the 2 games against Essendon that we Then we lost one, and I think did we draw the other one? And Zach, we did. And Zach Merritt on both occasions just slaughtered us.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, had we had a run with player on Zach Merritt, instead of him getting 37 possessions, which I think he basically got in both games, and they just got over the line, run with player might have kept him to 25. And there's the difference. There's 2 games. There's 8 points extra for the year we would have got. And that was the year that we missed finals by percentage. Okay, so bang, you got to run with play with Zach Merritt in those 2 games. We make finals.
Well, look at what happened in this final series. Geelong, in the qualifying final, tag Hugh McCluggage has no impact. Yeah. They win the game. Prelim, we put no attention into him whatsoever. He dominates. Yeah. Grand final, first half, they tag him again, Geelong. Doesn't play that well. Second half, they drop the tag. He absolutely dominates. That's the difference right there.
Mm-hmm.
Hugh I think I know we don't tag as a club, but sometimes you just need to change. I'm not saying have 3 taggers like Geelong. No, just one.
If you were a Brisbane or a Gold Coast with their embarrassment of riches in the midfield, you wouldn't use a tagger there. Those sides wouldn't employ a tagger because
Brisbane and who? Sorry,
a Brisbane and a Gold Coast. Any side with a top midfield with 4 and sometimes 5 gun midfielders. Of course, you're not going to sacrifice a gun midfielder to have a run with player in there. I understand that, but a side like a Collingwood, I think we could incorporate a run with player into our midfield, and we won't be sacrificing a gun to do it.
Our medium size forward line that I've got here, with the Goey and Elliott as the main targets, and then a couple young guys in West and Buller. What do you think of that? Is that something you would like to see?
I like the composition. I've always been a fan of smaller forward lines. 1, 2 talls at the very maximum. But I liked Richmond's setup in their first couple of or at least their
first one. They had Lynch for the second.
When they had Revolt down there, and they had a whole lot of smalls. Because it's been proven over many years now that small forwards kick your goals in finals, not so much tall forwards. Because, as I said, there's this thing called gravity, which brings the ball to ground. So the ball's on the ground more often, so you're more likely to get impact from the small forwards. And also, like the key forwards, I don't need to tell you, back in the day when it was more one-on-one, going back 30 years ago, key forwards would win you big finals because they only had to beat their own opponent. These days, with the zoning off, it's not exactly new, but key forwards are now competing with 2 or 3 defenders who have come off their man. They're not taking pack marks anymore and kicking goals. It's your Bobby Hill types, your Cameron types from Brisbane. These are the guys who are kicking goals in finals.
And so, do you agree with what do you think about West and Buller over Membry and McStay?
I like Buller for what I said before. He provides a second ruck option. I think that's important. And McStay's just not tall enough. I think we need to get games into Charlie West because, despite what I just said about key forwards, the impact they do bring, they're now bringing earlier. Like back in the day, you'd say, okay, key forward's not going to bring your club much until he gets into his mid-20s at least. They're longer. They take longer to develop. But we've seen things like Logan Morris making an impact at 20 years old.
Exactly. I feel like he could be our Logan Morris.
So Charlie West could be that guy who does compete in the air, makes a contest, brings the ball to ground, kicks he might kick 30, maybe even 40 goals for the year when he gets up and going in a couple of years. But he could make an impact next year. West, if you base it on what guys like Morris has done.
That's exactly it. So my theory about West, say West v Membry, for example. Membry kicked 32 goals this year.
Yeah, had a good
I really
season.
like this season, Membry. He's a really solid contributor, 100%. But you don't think at his age, he's not going to really get
He's not going to get better.
No, he's a say 35 max, 35 max, and then if it may be more realistically, it's going to be 30. I believe Charlie West could kick a similar amount to that, 30 odd.
Yeah.
I think if that's the case, you just got to go to younger one over the more experienced.
Well, we said before.
As you said. But if I'm wrong, if we're wrong about West, and we play in the first few games and he just doesn't look like he's ready, then 100% pull the trigger. Tim Membry could still have a huge role to play. Just switch them. Okay, it didn't work for the first month of the year. Go back to the VFL and we'll play Tim Membry. Similar to, or Dan McStay, whoever's in better form. So, that's how I see that. And the last thing I want to touch on with you and get your opinion on is the back line in terms of the main distributor. Essentially, I've kicked out Josh Dacos and I've kicked out Harry Berryman, and I've brought in Houston, who ended the year in a wing, and I've brought in Pendlebury, who showed good signs behind the ball. I think everything has to go through Dan Houston. We've paid a lot for him. He's on a lot of money. That's what he did best at Port Adelaide. He is the number one man. Pendlebury can play a second role, basically what Houston was doing and Josh. So Houston's the new Josh Dacos and Pendlebury's the new Houston, essentially. And when I think of kick-outs and kick-ins, or whatever way you want to say it, I don't want to see anyone other than Houston, Pendlebury, and possibly Nick Dacos if he's back there, taking those kick-ins, because I think they're crucial to the way that we set up. And I've seen Jeremy Howe, Darcy Moore, Braden Maynard, even Josh Dacos just stuff it up too many times, kicking it in. It just doesn't make sense when you've got Houston, Pendlebury, and Nick Dacos in your team. I just think that should be the way we go. We do not let anyone else kick the ball in. What do you think? Is Houston man? Is Pendlebury our second man?
I think you could get a win-win by, as you say, deploying Houston in his Port Adelaide role. Okay, because we gave up a lot for Houston, so we need him to be a star. So I think him taking Josh Dacos' role, and I would actually play Josh Dacos. You've got him on the wing. I'd have him as one of our primary on-ballers.
That's fair, yeah. That's the way I've got him splitting his time between wing and inside mid. The only thing is I thought, well, Nick Dacos is inside. He's going to play as our main midfielder. I wanted McCreary in there. Ned Long can't play anywhere else. And I just looked at one point I had Dacos in the midfield, Josh that is, Ed Allen on the wing. And I just thought, you're just not getting the best out of Ed Allen. You need to do what's best for the team. You need to give Ed Allen that exposure. Josh Dacos, we know, is an elite wingman. I'm not saying never put him in the midfield, but potentially split. If Ed Allen comes down the first few weeks, like I said about Charlie West, and he's just no good, then Josh Dacos can't be that man to go in there and play full-time role. But that's kind of what I saw it. But anyway, keep on going, sorry.
McCreary on ball. I remember Pat on one of our panel shows, Pat from Paddy's Pies.
Paddy's Pies on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube.
Yes. Pat was saying that he would be, I hope I'm not misquoting him, but he said he'd be reluctant to play McCreary on ball because, and he's right, both times McCreary did his hammy last year, it was exploding out of a stoppage centre square. But is he more likely to do a hamstring playing on ball than playing anywhere, given his style of play is explosive? Pat might be right, but I'm not sure if he is more likely to do a hammy playing on ball than playing wing or half forward, high half forward or whatever it is. Because obviously he looks great exploding from stoppages, doesn't he? When he does do it, yeah. So there you go.
Rightio. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No. The Julian Rowe medal.
Well, that's over, Mick.
I think we're a bit tough on ourselves.
Okay.
Because we compared and contrast the Julian Rowe leaderboard at the end with the Collingwood best and fairest. But on reflection, I think we actually were. Well, at least we got the right winner. Let's say that. At least we got the number one.
Bit harsh on Darcy Cameron.
No, well, don't call me harsh on Darcy Cameron when our own coach, and I wasn't a fan of this.
Oh, yeah.
Our own coach came out and said, I think we need to review the voting system because basically Nick didn't win. How would that have made Cameron feel? By all means, review. If you think the system needs reviewing, review the system, but do so behind closed doors. Don't come out to the media and say, we should review the system because basically Darcy Cameron won and Nick should have won. Because how's Darcy Cameron going to feel? Seriously.
I'm just gonna go out and say this. I love Fly. I think he's fantastic on and off. I think he's one of the best coaches in the comp. I think he's a great bloke. He's just everything about him I really like. I think he's had an ordinary couple of months in the media. What he said there about Darcy Cameron, well, not about Darcy Cameron, but in regards to the best and fairest, which would, like you said, probably not make Darcy feel great about himself. I think that was shit. I think the comment he made at the Copeland was unnecessary about Matt Rowell and Nick Dacos. More so, forget about, being disrespectful to Rowell. I don't think it was. I think he was trying to make a joke, but it just, at the end of the day, it just puts more pressure on Nick, unnecessary pressure. People are going to be talking about him. He doesn't want that. No, it's just...
Yeah.
And then even in terms of what he said about Clayton Oliver, before Clayton Oliver made up his mind, publicly anyway, he comes out and he says, Clayton's very hard to get a hold of. He must be having a good time in Sydney. Well, why are you saying that publicly? It's not going to help our cause to get him. And of course, that goes back to what happened with Jack Silvani a few months ago, middle of the season, going on about how he's going on dates with him. Yeah, it's all funny and all that. Well, is that just putting pressure on Silvani? He's then walking back into Carlton. Everyone knows he's talking to Collingwood, the old arch rival. That probably doesn't make him feel good. He ends up at St Kilda. I'm not saying it's because of what Fly said. I think a lot of it's to do with money, but definitely, like the Oliver thing, wouldn't have helped. So,
well, also considering Matt Rowell has signed a 2-year contract at Gold Coast, what's he going to be thinking in 2 years' time? Is he thinking, I might want to go back to Melbourne? And if he does come back to Melbourne, I'm not overly interested in Collingwood because of what McRae said about me publicly. A bit like, as some media outlets reported, the Lynch, when Lynch went from Gold Coast to Richmond. Now, he was a bit put out by what Bucks had said publicly that he'd been talking to him. So Buckley put him in an awkward position with his teammates by saying he'd been speaking to him. Is this, and that's why he chose Richmond over Collingwood, apparently. Has McRae done something similar here? He's been disrespectful to Rowell, and is that going to come back and haunt us in 2 years' time if we want to get Rowell?
Well, Fly always talks about getting better. The players, the coaches, everyone in the club, we just want to get better. Every day we want to get better. We want to work on ourselves, and that's great. I think Fly, for the first time in his coaching career this off-season, he can probably look at himself and be like, I've got ways I can get better. And I think that's one of them. I think he needs to work on that. Other than that, he's great. I love him. He's great. The best coach I've seen in my time watching Collingwood. And, I loved Mick and Bucks had a couple of good years, but I really rate what Fly's been able to do in 4 years, take us to 2 prelims and a premiership. Coming from 17th on the ladder, you take that. So anyway, for the last time ever, it's time for Who Am I? All right, so who am I? It's already over. This is a dead rubber. I've got myself a 1 point lead. No matter what, I've won the competition.
All right.
This is just for a bit of fun. When the Ashes, when a team's 3-0 up going into 4th test, they still play the last 2 tests. So, it has a little bit riding on it. Just, but you're going to be an asshole about it, aren't you? You're going to make this really difficult.
There's controversy.
Oh, what's happened?
There's controversy. The internet has blown up after last week or week before when you put it to me for the last time, my last Who Am I? A lot of people were saying this shouldn't be a dead rubber, that there should be, I should be offered another go because you're wrong. Okay. There's a lot of correspondence. Let's call one of the authors. I don't know. Let's pick up let's call him Serge. Okay.
Funny, Serge said this to me too. I thought I'd just let it slide.
Serge, he pointed out
the
very first clue that I was given last week was pick 6 in the 1997 rookie draft.
Oh yes, can I stop you there? Yes. So Serge was wrong with this one. So he was from memory, he was pick 6 in the 1997 rookie draft, right? Then debuted in 1997. It actually was called the 1997 rookie draft because it was held in February. So that was actually correct. It was the next thing that I was slightly wrong about.
Well, with that first clue, because I knew that Mel Michael was pick 6 in the 1996 rookie draft.
Did
so
you?
when you said pick 6 in the 1997 rookie draft, I immediately discounted Mel straight away.
It was technically, if you look it up, it was technically the 1997 rookie draft.
I thought, well, it can't be Mel Michael. So I discounted him straight
away. I get
away.
yours and Serge's point, and it gave me a mini heart attack. But when I looked into it, I was like, "Oh no, I actually was right." So it was technically
what
correct.
was the next? What was the point you were talking about then?
Oh, that he wasn't. That he was basically. I think I said that Mel Michael wanted out, where that wasn't the case. He was pushed out. But I don't think that would have made much of a difference anyway. I don't think
I could be justified in asking for a replay. The first question was technically correct. I'm bigger than that because it's not a big deal. As you know,
would have that made any difference into you getting it?
Was he pushed out?
Yeah, apparently it was. Yeah, off-field behaviour.
Oh,
you didn't even know that, so it wouldn't have made a difference.
No, I probably would have. Was that the time when he was it Luke Godden? The Luke Godden incident?
I don't know.
When he was driving around the back streets with Luke Godden wearing balaclavas, and they'd stop and ask passing pedestrians where the nearest bank was.
That's a good story. But anyway, the reason I wasn't going to bring it up, I considered bringing it up, is I thought about it and I thought, it isn't that much. It isn't a big deal in terms of, it was just a tiny little thing that I got wrong, and it would have made no difference. It would have 100% made no difference.
And truly justified.
100% made no difference. Okay. Anyway, thanks for dobbing, Serge.
Who am I?
Yes. Should I hit a 6 and go for 5?
Born the 7th of the 8th, 1928. Died the 7th of the 7th, 2003. So he was, to do the maths for you, Dermott, not your strong point, he was nearly 75.
I'm going to lock in Bob Rose.
I'm
actually locking it in.
Are you sure? So I'm going to continue on.
Yeah, I'm sure, because I like I said, I know he died. I'm certain Bob Rose died in a year that we were playing Brisbane in a grand final. I just remember that as a kid. And I could be off, but I've already won. I'm already a point up. So if I've got the slightest hint, I'm just going to try and hit a 6.
Okay.
I'm locking in Bob Rose for 5.
Rightio. So for 4 points, retiring at 27 to captain coach Wangaratta Rovers.
Yep. Okay. I've already locked it. So okay. Yep.
Yes, I know. For 3 points, 4 times best and fairest winner, Brownlow medal runner-up, All Australian, and the Collingwood team of the century.
It's looking good.
For 2 points, returned to coach the Pies in 1964 before crossing to the Dogs in 72. But ultimately returned into the Pies as coach in 85 and 86.
Yeah.
For 1 point, regarded by many as Collingwood's greatest ever player.
It's him, isn't it?
I am Bob Rose.
Yeah. I don't think the Mel Michael thing matters anymore.
So let's just... So this is just a quick sample size over the year of the players I put forward as opposed to the players that Dermott put forward. So I put forward players of the Ilkers. Peter Dacos could be described as our greatest ever player. Bob Rose, again, described as our greatest ever player. And Jock McHale, described as our biggest name in the club's history, as opposed to players Dermott put forward, such as Mick Irwin.
I knew you were going to say him.
Thank you, Dermott. Thank you. Generous individual, Dermott.
Yes, you pick out one player.
A generous... I could go on and on if you like.
There was plenty of guys that you gave me that I'd never even heard of.
Please.
Right, I win by 6 points. Ended up being a smashing, Mick. Ended up being a smashing. That was good. Rightio. So I want to end this podcast by talking a little bit about our plans for next year. Now,
Well, your plans, your
well,
demands. They're just your demands.
I put it forward, and I sent you a text the other day, and you seemed pretty keen. Now I'm going to put this out. This isn't locked in, but this is just our early thoughts, and we'll work on it over the preseason. Is next year we're thinking about we're having a set time, because at the moment, as regular listeners will know, we normally bring this out 24 hours after our game, whether it be Friday or Saturday, Sunday. It doesn't really matter. We normally bring it out 24 hours afterwards. Next year, we're considering having a set time. Sunday nights at 6 p.m. we do the pod live on YouTube, which will be a bit of pressure. And then we take that audio and create the podcast for Spotify and Apple listeners, which will then come out on a Monday morning. That is the goal. And, you guys can let us know if that's a good idea or not, or whether you'd be keen on that. And we'll work out during the off-season whether we can actually make that happen. But like I said at the start of the podcast, if you guys have any ideas, feel free to drop them. What do you think about that, Mick? Going live next year? But yeah, we won't be able to cut out anything that you say.
No, I'm all for it. No, that's good.
Bit of pressure.
No, yes. No, I break clear of your controlling manner. Let's just call it.
We'll get live comments as well, so we can talk to the people
rallying.
So that's the early plans, and we should be back early to mid-January for the preseason. And I want to give a couple of shout outs, Mick, before we wrap up for the season. I would like to thank, so early in the preseason, we did a couple of interviews with Leon Davis and Mick McGuan. That was really awesome, and I recommend if you haven't heard them, go back and listen to them. So I want to thank those two for jumping on, and hopefully we can do something similar with a few more people in the following preseason, next preseason. We've actually got one lined up, so that'll be cool. I want to thank James Baldwin. He's
yes, thank you, James.
Yes, well, you've never heard of him.
James Baldwin.
James Baldwin is the fellow that created the Into the Woods logo at the start of the year.
Good job.
Yes, so
James.
he was absolutely amazing and able to create that for us. He put so much care and thought into the logo. He was sending me updates via video, different kind of designs. I would be like, oh, maybe we can try this, and he'll do it straight away. Really, really, really good job. And
obviously, we've got different threshold of what constitutes amazing. But anyway, keep on going.
If you want to look at his work, and maybe if you're looking for a graphic designer, 100% recommend him. You can find him on Instagram at James Baldwin Creative, and on his website, which is jpjbgraphicdesign.com.au. So I highly recommend looking into James and his work. He's been fantastic. And
it was that good. His work was that good with the icon. Didn't you tell me that somebody in the Collingwood cheer squad has replicated that logo?
They did, yeah. I saw that at the prelim.
On a flag. It was on the... Yeah, I haven't looked back, but have a look at our prelim in the cheer squad end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Somebody's got a flag.
It was the official cheer squad flag. It was identical to the Into the Woods logo, so yeah.
Yes. Not sure. I'm not sure what I think about that, but anyway.
I want to give a shout out to our panel show members, Paige, Grubman, Oscar, and Pat from Paddy's Pies on TikTok, as we mentioned before. You guys have been fantastic, and we hope that you will continue to come on and do it all again next year. A couple of the panel members I want to give a special mention to, though. The first one being Serge. He's been huge for us this year. Started off as just an average, normal listener. Didn't know the bloke at all. He then, was joined us on our first panel show. He's since then become our most capped panel show member. But also, he's now moved into having his regular segment on our weekly show where he does his VFL report. So we're really grateful to Serge and all his hard work, and hopefully he can continue to join us next year. And the other one is Andreas from Black and White United. Once again, didn't know Andreas at all at the start of the season. And then he started giving us shout-outs on his show before we'd even spoken to him. So
Yes,
I reached out to him, and he's just been so good since then in promoting our show on his great stuff. And if you haven't seen it, it's at Black and White United on YouTube. He does some great work. He joined us in the preseason for a one-on-one chat with me, and then moved on to becoming a panel show member. And he even created our thumbnail for our YouTube videos as well. Didn't even ask it. Woke up one morning and he created that for us.
Yeah, very nice of him.
Giving me some good advice on how to grow the channel. And one of the real good guys in the Collingwood content creating community, Mick. So really grateful to Andreas and to Serge and, of course, Paige, Grubman, Oscar and Paddy. But that's it. That's it, Mick. That's it for the season. Of course, we're grateful to our listeners and our viewers and, helping us grow this year. It's been an up and down season, 44 episodes. It's been difficult at times to have to turn up every week and chat to you, but overall it's been fun. And what are your final thoughts on season 2025, Mick?
Nothing that I haven't already expressed.
Are you looking forward to season 2026? Going live, doing all that stuff?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. Got the Ashes coming up, which I'm looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
In a few months, so change the old-fashioned, footy in the winter, cricket in the summer. I'm that type of a bloke. So come February, I'll be itching for the footy to start again, no doubt. But now, I'm looking
January,
forward to
Mick, for us. The footy starts in January.
Jesus. So hopefully we'll get a good summer of Test cricket ahead of us. That'll be really good. There you go. That's it.
All
I've
right.
got no more to say.
For the final time in 2025, thanks for listening. We look forward to doing it again next year. See ya. Thanks for that.